Hello, everyone. Okay, I think this is recording. Welcome to our first lab for human physiology, 2605.1 and 2605.2, the lab portion of human phys. Welcome, everybody. I am pre-recording this just in case anything happens. I'm going to try to pre-record all of our intro lectures. They will all be, I would say, about 20 minutes or so. We'll go over what to expect in the lab. I will explain to you what you need to do in the lab, and then hopefully let you guys go to work either independently or in small groups. So for our intro, let me share my screen. All right. I'm Professor Cohen. I sent you guys my little intro. We're going to talk about that here in a minute, but what today is going to look like, we got our introduction. We're going to go over the syllabus, the schedule, some lab safety, although we're not going to be in the lab, so we're not going to talk a lot about that. Got a little presentation on the intro, and we're going to do a short little kind of fun lab, and we'll go over the pre-lab for the following week. You guys know a little about me. I sent out my intro, but just a recap. I'm a physical therapist. I'm also an athletic trainer. I've been in healthcare since the 80s, a long time. I started out in New Jersey and have been making my way west. I've been here in California since 2009 and here at Dominican since 2012. I got my MBA here and never left. So love Dominican, love the students and the staff. I just am a big fan of Dominicans. That's me, sort of. My teaching style, I love to share my knowledge of science to students and staff. We really share a lot within the department and each other. My favorite is hands-on experience. I think it's fun. I think it's memorable. I'm going to try to make the labs as hands-on as possible. And I know this is a strange situation because we're not in the lab, but I worked most of the summer on trying to come up with labs that we could do at home that would mimic to some extent what we would be doing in the lab. So not all of them fit that category, unfortunately, but I've done my best to make them fun and pertinent. I expect you guys to participate. Again, I understand that this is interesting times, so participation may mean logging on and watching the videos at home, may mean if you can participate in the labs at the time that we're all meeting, which would be my preference, but I understand things happen. Class participation I love, so if you can participate either in the chats by raising your hand or when we do breakout sessions, we're going to learn all of this together. I am certainly no tech expert, so we'll figure this out. When we're doing the labs, I don't expect labs to work perfectly. They usually don't, but I expect you to try and do the work and then be able to explain why the lab didn't work. So I think we learn often from our mistakes, and when the labs don't work, it's a great opportunity to think back what didn't go correct or what didn't go as expected. Everyone will have an ample opportunity to achieve a good grade. If you show up to class and do the work and turn in all of the materials, there's no reason why you can't get an A in this class. My goal is that everyone will succeed, and in addition to that, I really would like you guys to have some fun. I think this is a really fun class, one of my favorites. Class policies, obviously we're going to be on some kind of device, either your phone or your computer. But while we're in class together, I would like for you to pay attention and not have something else going on in the background. Please be on time. I generally start right on time. If for some reason I'm late, that would be kind of an oddity. I usually start like almost on time to the minute. And the classes, the times that we're together won't be very long. I don't expect it again to be more than 20 minutes or so. And then I will let you guys go to do the labs. Please act responsibly. I never have any trouble with Dominican because everybody is so nice. But please be respectful to your students, your fellow students. Class materials, again, everything is posted online. You can download anything, you can print it, you can use it for yourself. Please adhere to the Dominican Honor Code, especially when it comes to plagiarism. Although I'm not sure we're going to be doing a lot of writing in this class. I've changed the post labs to some extent, but keep this in mind, that please no plagiarism. Attendance, it is a requirement that you attend the labs. Again, I understand this is a stipulation because of all this craziness that's going on in the world right now. If you cannot attend the lab, I am going to have it posted. Just please shoot me an email and let me know that you're okay and that you're going to be doing the lab online, and because otherwise I will worry about you. In case of power shutoffs, because I know these things happen these days right now, actually as I'm recording this, there's a power shutoff at Dominican. I'm going to do my best to record these and pre-record them. If I do record anything in the lab while the lab is going on, I will let you know ahead of time so that anybody that doesn't want to be recorded, you can turn off your video. Please let me know again if you're going to be late or if you need to leave early. Excused absences for illness or emergencies. And there's actually one other section for this class. If you can't make the class that you're assigned to, let me know. Either you can make it up in the other class, or again, everything will be posted. Course description. This is hopefully will hold true. So in this lab, we're going to collect information whenever possible. I've set up the labs again to hopefully be able to physically do some of the labs. We're going to analyze the data, potentially test some hypotheses or talk about our hypotheses. You're going to work on your critical reasoning. This is especially important when we're looking at the labs for things that didn't work. And for those of you pursuing a career in health sciences, I know we've got a lot of nursing students, occupational or pre-occupational therapy and bio students. So we do this all the time with almost every patient, at least that I see. I'm always thinking, what's going on? Why is this happening physiologically? What could be the reason? And then what am I going to do to help them, help the patient, help the member to overcome, as a physical therapist, overcome whatever their issue is. Same for occupational therapy, for nursing. You're going to be critical reasoning, you know, why potentially is this person's blood pressure high? Why are they having problems with digestion? A lot of things that we were going to be looking at in this lab. You're going to be learning the basics of reading and writing labs. We'll be doing at least one lab report, and you will be doing 2 presentations. My history with Dominican and presentations, you guys always do a terrific job in presentations. So you'll have 2 opportunities to do presentations. Right now, I think they will be presentations of your choosing. You'll work in small groups. We'll talk about that more later. All right, so the schedule, this is tentative. All of our classes are virtual and hybrid in that we will hopefully meet together online synchronously as much as possible, at least at the beginning of class. And then you'll go off either in a small group or on your own to complete the labs. As much as possible, I'm going to stick to the schedule, but you know, again, things happen. My plan is for today, we're going to talk about the lab, and we'll do a short lab on the scientific method. Next week, we're talking about the cell and cell membrane. I met with this is a short aside, the instructor for your physiology lecture, and we've set up our classes so they follow in sync with each other. In other words, I hopefully will have this set that if Shiva is talking about the cell membrane in class for your lecture, we're also going to have a cell membrane in lab to match that chapter. So I've also tried to go chapter by chapter, having a lab that sort of lines up with what you are working on in lecture and in the book as much as possible. There's no lab manual that we have. We've myself and the staff have come up with labs that we think will match what you're learning. Hopefully they're fun. There are some that are brand new, some that are tried and true. And so I'll let you know as we're going along a little bit of the history. I just think that's interesting. So cell membrane, Bioman, this is brand new this semester. I hope this will work. Again, like I said, I've spent a lot of the summer trying to figure out what labs would be good and interesting that would translate to our virtual lab. And the cell membrane lab, historically, we've done in the lab. It is very complex, and I just could not come up with something that you could do at home that would mimic that. So Bioman, it's a fun, fun lab. We'll go over a lot of physiology on the cell. The week after, this is also a brand new lab, the bone lab. Should be really fun. You guys are going to work to build a bone or a simulation of a bone. So you'll have to do a little bit of research on what are the components of the bone, how does a bone work, and then you're going to build one, I think anyway, with things that you have at home. So it'll be really interesting to see how different people come up with different drawings and different components to build their bone. It should be really interesting. The jump lab is next. This is a lab that I've used for many semesters. It hopefully will be similar for you guys to do this at home than you would do it in the lab. As it says, we are going to jump. And it's looking at the musculoskeletal system, a little bit with the nervous system, and how your bones and your muscles work in conjunction with the nervous system. So the brain sends an impulse to your muscles, makes the muscles contract, and you jump. And then we're going to look at and compile our data. And so we'll be jumping a couple of different ways. We'll have to download a little bit of equipment for you to measure your jump. That part of the lab is new, so hopefully that will work. And we'll go over that more as we get closer to it. Following that is reflexes. Again, looking at the nervous system, how do reflexes work? Our reflexes, I think that you're probably the most familiar with would be the knee-jerk reflex, where the doctor or somebody hits you with a reflex hammer, and you look at that feedback group. When you get hit with the hammer, your muscle spindle stretches, and it affects a nerve that goes into your spinal cord, up your brain, to the brain, and causes a reaction. There are many other kinds of reflexes that we're going to be looking at, and I think I've written it up so that all of these you can do at home with limited equipment. Next is vision and hearing. This is one or two of the special senses. I believe this is about last semester where we started at home with COVID. So I believe most of these have been online. We've done virtually before with a really good result. So vision and hearing, the vision and hearing tests we're going to do, looking at the special senses, looking at your vision. I've been able to download a bunch of vision tests and hearing tests that you'll be able to do on your own. Following that is smell and taste. I believe we're using jelly beans, which is super fun, and then some other things, some things that you'll have at home for the smell portion of the lab. Following that week, the week of October 13th, you'll do your first case presentation. We will all be together for that lab. Plan on the lab taking up the entire time. You'll be working in small groups, probably 3 or 4 people. Everybody will present a portion of the presentation, and we'll talk about that more as we get closer. Cardiac output and factors affecting cardiac output and blood pressure is the following week. And then we're going to do respiration. Urinalysis is to be determined. I'm still working on this one. There are a couple of resources that we may try, one of which is the visible body. You may hear, if you're taking anatomy or you know anybody that's taking anatomy, we've just, last week, were able to get the okay or approval for Dominican to buy everyone a code to work with the visible body. Is an online application that's got just an incredible amount of information. So we spent, again, a good portion of the summer trying to find resources that would work really well, and tried out many different resources. And this was by far the best one that's out there. So really excited to be working with the visible body. Software, again, we may or may not use it in this class, but if we do, urinalysis would probably be one of the labs that we'll use the visible body for. And you'll hear more about this. Reproduction is a video, so you'll watch, I think it's a BBC, about an hour-long video on the life cycle, and then there's some worksheets that you will complete. It's, I think, one of the few labs that we have that's more video and video-based and answering questions. Digestion's a really fun lab. You will have to have a little bit of, I wouldn't say equipment, but a few items. And we'll talk about more of that as we get closer, but you'll be creating or making a digestive system and looking at what goes into the digestive system and how it works. Super fun. I think everybody had a good time with this one. Following week is Thanksgiving. And then after that, we'll come back, and for our last class, we'll have another series of oral presentations. Again, it's synchronous. Everybody will be together and plan on it taking the whole time. The semester, once we get into it, goes really fast. So you can always email me if you have questions and let me know how you're doing. We'll talk as we go through the semester. Okay, so physiology, the lecture and the lab are coordinated, but they are independent of each other. Their information should overlap and support, the lecture should support the lab and vice versa. If you're failing one portion, which I can't imagine, but if you're failing one portion, the grades can be combined, and you can let us know as the semester is going on. We can certainly talk about that. So for assignments, you will have, for most, if not all of the labs, a pre-lab assignment that you'll complete before you come to class. It will prepare you for the lab. We'll do a lab that will have some sort of a lab worksheet or something that you'll be able to turn in. And then most labs, again, will have a post-lab assignment. Each one of these is worth 30 points. If you're absent for any part of the pre-lab or what have you, and you can't make it up, you can always turn in the pre-lab later or complete the lab worksheet or post assignments later. My preference is that you turn in the assignments on the day that they're due, which is usually a week. I give you a week to complete them. If you can't do that, please let me know. I built a lot of flexibility into this class. As I did last semester, what I found at the end of last semester was a lot of people needed a lot of prompting to make sure, I wanted to make sure everybody got everything in. So it's better for you to complete the labs on time, just so you don't have, at the end of the semester, 4 or 5 labs that you need to complete at once. But again, you know, we're flexible. It's a strange semester, so we'll work that out as we go along. There are no lab exams in this class. Yay. You will have the lab activities. Some of them are to be determined. There is some reading that go along with the assignments. And again, you'll have the 2 group presentations. Everything's posted on Moodle. The syllabus, the schedule, all of the PowerPoints, any of the pre-lab assignments, all the lab assignments. Oops, sorry. If there's a worksheet, that will be posted on Moodle as well. So lab manual, there's really, I would say, no specific manual. You don't have to buy anything. Everything is posted on Moodle. There is a recommended textbook, which is the Merriam Anatomy and Physiology. It's the book we've been using for as long as I've been at Dominican. You'll use it both for physiology and anatomy. And then other supplies that are helpful are pens and pencils, colored pencils, blank note cards. If you have the anatomy and physiology coloring book, that's always fun. And I know Professor Garola and I use that in the anatomy lab. So when you guys get to anatomy. Anything else you might need for your reminder, just for to keep things organized. Phone and camera is great for those of you that aren't super comfortable with Zoom, as I am not either. If you want to use your phone to videotape or take pictures of things and upload them instead of using Zoom, that's fine. Really, whatever works for you. Again, we will be doing things in smaller groups for some of the post-lab assignments. I think I'm going to have you do discussions instead of writing assignments. As a way to grade them, I'm going to need you to either take a picture of your group or do a small recording. So you can either do that on Zoom or with your phone. And note cards are always helpful for quick things that you want to write down to study, or flashcards. Services and accommodations, as we have always had in class or in when people are in school, in the actual school, in the actual lab, there are tutors and tutoring services. We will still have that. Clearly, they won't be dropped in, but there will be a way that you can sign up to get some tutoring. There's always accommodations for students that need accommodations for any kind of a disability. I believe we have a new person this year, but you can always get a hold of that department through this telephone number. And if you need help, let me know and I can help figure that out for you. At the end of the semester, there are class evaluations. We will talk about this again as it gets closer, but please fill out the evaluations. They're all anonymous, and I do use them for information that helps me figure out what worked and what didn't work for the following semester. This will be super important for this semester, as this is really the first time that we've done an entire semester virtually. So anything that you can give me feedback on would be super helpful. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about the scientific method. And this is what scientists use for any and all research. Anytime you're looking at doing a research study or you want to put together an experiment, excuse me, this is the procedure you're going to use. And there's several parts to the scientific method. There's the observation, leads to a question. We'll talk about these a little bit more. Leads to a hypothesis, question for what you want to do research on. You have to come up with a hypothesis. You'll actually conduct the experiment and collect your data, and then come up with a conclusion. So, right, the steps. You're going to observe something. In this example, you observe your plant. You want to plant some seeds in some soil, and your question is, which type of fertilizer is going to work the best? So you've got fertilizer A, B, and C, right? Plants grow then you come up with your hypothesis,